everyone. Welcome to the Coaches Show on SportsNetUSA.net 90.1 FM KBPK in conjunction with Fullerton College TV. Last Saturday, Fullerton with a thrilling win, double overtime over Mount Sac. Trey Tinsley was able to complete 17 out of 22 passes for 307 yards, a complete about face from the previous week's Ventura game where things didn't really go as well as the Hornets might have liked. Only one unforced error on behalf of Fullerton's offense, and when you look at Mount Sac, they had one interception and were sacked 3 times, and Fullerton was able to force 3 different fumbles, 2 of which they were able to recover, 1 of which was in overtime. In overtime, the first overtime, Trey Tinsley right away out of the gate throws to Ryan Marcouche on the right-hand side. He's able to haul it down, 25-yard pass, touchdown, and Fullerton is up and running. Mount Sac, however, was able to reply only 3 plays later. In the second overtime, Mount Sac, the quarterback ends up getting sacked, forcing the fumble, getting the sack. Fullerton takes over on offense. Very next play, 24-yard touchdown, Trey Tinsley to Ryan Marcouche. Today I was able to get interviews with head coach of the Fullerton College Hornets, Tim Burns. He's talking with his guys right now. I was also able to get an interview with the offensive line coach, Trevor Waters, and the athletic trainer, who's extremely important to the entire football team as he makes sure that they are well prepped for each game and allowed to perform at their best when they are in practice, and that was Juan Cuevas. Coach, an emotional win Saturday. How do you keep those feelings in check as the game matures?
You know, as a game, during the game or right now?
During the game.
During the game, I thought our kids would come out and play hard. I said after last week they would definitely come out and play hard, and they had to step up to the level of that football team, which is a great football team.
Last week when we talked, you did mention that you guys were going to be prepared. Only one unforced error on behalf of your offense. What allowed them to be so disciplined?
We simplified things so they didn't have to think as much and let them just go play football. And like I said, that first game was a complete debacle. I'd love to have it over, but that's what a great learning lesson for them on how to prepare and how to play. And they came and showed up and did it the second game. And hopefully we'll do the same this week.
When you do go into a overtime game like you had Saturday, what's the game plan going in or the mindset?
Going into the game, you never know if you're going to go to overtime, but when you get into overtime, you want to be aggressive and win the football game. I think that's what we did. We ran a blitz and got them to fumble the football, and then our offense went up top on man-to-man coverage, and we had a chance, and we won. The kids made plays.
Now, when you did see that they struck right after you guys had that quick strike first play of overtime, how do you ensure that that doesn't rattle you too much and you go right back to work?
It rattles guys that aren't good football players. We got a lot of good football players on this team, and so it didn't rattle them.
Seeing how Tinsley did turn around from that Ventura game and showed absolute brilliance on Saturday, 307 passing yards, 17 of 22. What allowed him to be so good?
I think he had just a little bit more confidence. It wasn't a high school football game anymore. He realized that he had to step up, and he did it.
So is it more of a question of being already in a first college football game?
I think, I think we gave him too much to think about, and I think he maybe didn't prepare like he believes he probably should have. But I think the combination of us cutting back and him preparing, I think was one main reason why he was so successful.
Now, his main target on Saturday was Ryan Marcouche, who had 107 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, including that game winner at the end. What allowed him to create some space?
Ryan's a great player. He's just got to make up his mind that he wants to be a great player every game. And last game, he played like that all game long. He blocked guys. He ran great routes. He was the Ryan Marcouche that we expected him coming into this year.
Now, seeing that you guys do have Cerritos on Saturday, what are you guys planning for in terms of their offense, as they do have a quarterback who tends to go for the big play but is also susceptible to interceptions?
They got a great quarterback. When I say he's very efficient getting the ball to people. He's got a couple big-time receivers that are really good players, and he gets the ball up to them, and they're making it happen.
Now, just quickly to go back to last Saturday, Mount Sac did end up playing their second-string quarterback over Eben Jackson. How do you prepare for a second-string quarterback?
We just prepared. We saw them both in the first game, so we didn't know who they'd go with. So we just prepared as it's not about them necessarily. It's about us. If we prepare to run our blitzes, to run our schemes, and to play hard, we're going to be successful most of the time.
When you see that a quarterback does have 2 or 3 interceptions first 2 weeks of the season, do you try to exploit that over anxiousness?
No, I mean, we just, like I said, it's kind of hard to say, but I talk to these kids all the time about not playing against them. You're playing against yourselves and preparing for yourselves, and then being able to go out there and play hard. And I think that's what we got accomplished that day. We didn't make a lot of. I don't think we had any interceptions on Saturday, did we? I don't believe so. But I know we made some big plays in the sack game and covered long enough we could get to the quarterback.
You guys did end up with 3 sacks. What allowed your linebackers to get into the backfield so quickly?
We blitzed them a lot. We ran a good blitz game, and our DBs covered long enough so they could get to them.
Now, I've heard some coaches who say that there's a feeling out process to begin a game. How quickly do you and your coaching staff figure out what the opposing team is trying to enforce on you?
You're going to know within the first quarter of the football game what's going on.
So is it more of a adapting to what they're trying to do, or just try to go out and run your plays?
We're trying to run our plays, but obviously we've got to game plan and scheme and see what they do good and take away what they do good and do what we do good. That's kind of the idea, is take away their best plays and we're going to run our best plays and figure out how to do them.
Now, I talked to a couple of your players who said they were looking forward to the Cerritos game when the season schedule came out. Is this a big game for you guys every year that you play them?
I think it's a big game. Just a matter of fact is that they're close. They've been rivalries for a long time. It's a good program down there, and I think that I've a couple of coaches on my staff that played at Cerritos, so it's an important game for them. And so, yeah, it's definitely a big game.
Well, thank you, Coach. I'll let you get back to your coaching staff and your players behind you.
Thank you.
Good luck against Cerritos.
Thank you.
So I'm here now with Coach Trevor Waters, line coach here at Fullerton. Coach, your players did well this Saturday. How would you rate their performance on Saturday?
We pass blocked really well. Not happy with the run game. We have kind of a standard here that we rush for at least 200 yards a game. We haven't been able to achieve that yet. I mean, I think we're going to get there. This week I've kind of thrown the challenge out at them, and I think they're going to respond. We had a great practice so far. But, that's been our tradition. That's been our standard, what we expect. And we're going to go out and get it done.
Now, when you are playing a team like Mount Sac, like you guys did on Saturday, how quickly do you pick up on what the defensive ends are doing?
Well, we have guys in the booth. Coach Hensley up in the booth, the O-line coach was watching that. That would give me a chance to watch more of the center of the box so I could see if they're doing twists inside and where they're lining up. But we pick it up rather quickly.
To have your guys block on the run game, is it more of a motivational thing before the game, or is it just having them go out and they need to perform?
Well, it's attitude and technique. And the one thing that's hurting us is we're not finishing. All right, we're getting into our guys, we're making our blocks, and we're letting them slip off. And that's, making what could be a 15-yard run a 4-yard run. So it's about finish, it's about the attitude, it's about your technique.
What percentage of the lineman position would you say is mental, and what percentage is technique?
A lot of it's mental. I mean, you got to know what you're doing. You got to know how to get yourself into position. As a coach, we work a lot on things like footwork because our idea is our guys are all physically gifted. They're big, strong guys. We, usually get good linemen here. My job is to get them in position to use those natural strengths and abilities, and that's where the footwork and technique comes in. So you use that to get yourself in position to use your God-given ability.
You mentioned footwork. How much do you have to fine-tune the footwork of your guys when they transition from high school over to college?
Well, we start that day one. That's the first thing we do. My main emphasis in spring and summer is footwork, and we do that every day to this day. We start practice off on the boards going through our steps. It's the number one thing, and I make it a priority from the beginning. Depending on what kind of program they played in high school, there are tweaks that have to be made sometimes. But, our guys, like I said, are usually pretty good athletes, and they pick it up quickly.
Would you say that speed is a very important part of the offensive lineman position?
I would say more of quickness. We're not going to beat many people in the 40-yard dash. We need to beat them in the 5-yard dash.
Okay.
So quickness and size and strength and tenacity is what's going to get us through.
How much emphasis do you put on lifting weights?
Well, you have to. You can't compete. You can't survive a season of all this contact and physical combat without being strong. So you have to lift, and you got to get stronger. The stronger, the bigger, the less injuries you have, and the more powerful of a person you're going to be.
When you have a quarterback who's in the pocket and he's trying to draw that defensive line offsides, how difficult is it for an offensive lineman to maintain their position and not get too antsy?
Well, if they're focused mentally, it's not hard at all. Those pre-snap penalties are all a result of lack of concentration. If they keep their mental focus and acuity and their concentration, they're not going to jump.
How do they know what the quarterback is going, or when he is going to snap the ball?
Well, we have preset snap counts,
Okay.
so there's a cadence that we go through, and we change it every play.
Well, thank you, Coach. I'll let you get back to your offensive
Thank you.
lineman. So now I'm here with the athletic trainer, Juan Cuevas. Mr. Cuevas, what are the responsibilities of a trainer with the football team?
Well, the responsibilities of the athletic trainers to keep these guys healthy. So number one, we do health screenings before the season starts to make sure that they're healthy enough to compete in sports. So we have orthopedic surgeons assess their limbs, and also we have another doctor assessing their heart and lung, doing a heart and lung assessment. So once we make sure that they're okay to practice or to start a competition, we do everything from taping ankles to applying band-aids on boo-boos to assessing serious injuries as well too. So if someone has an injury to a knee, then our qualifications are to assess that injury. And to not necessarily give a diagnosis, because the doctors actually do give diagnoses, but I can with our orthopedic assessments are pretty right on. So we're able to make sure that these kids can either participate, or if I have to send them to the doctor, that's another thing that I do. So even though our title is athletic trainer, a lot of times I feel like we are medical coordinators, because not only are we again assessing the injuries, but then we also have to make sure that we're able to send the athletes to a certain doctor. So then, I have to make sure that we can get them a ride there. If their insurance, if my doctors take their insurance, and to make sure. Sorry, I thought there was an injury. And and at the same time, if they need surgery, then I need to get them to that place as well. So there's a lot of coordination involved with different offices and different professionals to make sure these kids are taken care of the right way.
Is it easier to assess an injury when you do see it happen live, or like if you don't see it and they just come to you?
It's much easier if you see it, of course, because then you can see the mechanism of injury. That is something that we talk about. But if I don't see it, then at the same time, I know the proper protocol that I use with every injury assessment that I do to go through. Then I check range of motion, and then the ligament tests and different things. So I have my the steps that I do every single time when an injury comes in, even if I don't know what's going on, because a lot of times the athletes, especially, they don't know their bodies very well sometimes. So they'll come in and say, my knee hurts, and I felt a tweak, but I really don't know how it happened. So then from there, I use my my experience and what I learned in school to come up with not necessarily, like I said, not a diagnosis, but with a good assessment.
Now, how important is communication from an injured player to the athletic trainer?
Oh, it's very important, because a lot of times guys, from time to time, not a lot of times, from time to time, they'll try to hide their injuries because they want to play. But when I meet with them before the season starts, I let them know that my job is not to keep them out of play; it's to make sure that they're safe enough or well enough to play. So sometimes when people come from other places, certain athletic trainers or maybe certain other medical personnel or people that who don't know what they're doing, not necessarily certified, will keep people out of play for different reasons. Or they'll go a doctor. If you go to a general practitioner, sometimes they'll keep them out because the protocols should definitely just go ahead and stop them from playing. And then, so I tell them my job is to keep you on the field, not off the field. So, developing good communication with the athletes has helped out a lot, and good relationship with these athletes. So, I try to do that, from day one.
Do you travel with the team when they do go on road games like you have this Saturday against Cerritos?
Mm-hmm. The only sport we are required to travel with is football because of the nature of the sport. It's a collision sport. People get hurt. So yeah, so football is the only sport that I travel with. So you'll see me there at every home and away game.
For the Coaches Show, I am Ryan Osborne on 90.1 FM KBPK, SportsNetUSA.net, in conjunction with Fullerton College TV.